George Lucas, the original creator of Star Wars, is reportedly shocked by the recent news that Gina Carano has officially won her lawsuit. And let me tell you, this victory isn't just significant for Gina, it's a massive wake-up call for Disney and Lucasfilm. Bob Iger, in particular, is said to be confused and concerned, currently holding what's being described as a definitive meeting to address not only the future of Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy, but the entire Star Wars strategy going forward. And yes, things are looking pretty grim for Kathleen Kennedy too, really grim. A huge shout out to Gina Carano for her victory. She's defeated the motion to dismiss her lawsuit, meaning she's advancing in her legal battle, which marks a major win in the culture war. Let's break down the situation. Kathleen Kennedy's track record over the last several years has been nothing short of disastrous. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars flushed down the drain with failed projects like the Escalates and the Trandoshans, remember those. And now, adding insult to injury, the Rey movie, the so-called New Jedi Order film they were hyping up, is reportedly canceled. Rumors are flying that Disney will officially confirm this soon, and that means Rey isn't coming back to save the franchise because, frankly, there's not much left to salvage at this point. Let's talk about the fans, who have been absolutely vocal in their discontent. They're not asking for more failed experiments. What they want is simple: give us Luke Skywalker. Give us the Star Wars that made us fall in love with the galaxy in the first place. Editorials are even popping up suggesting that they should bring Luke back in animated form just to recapture some of that original magic. But does Kathleen Kennedy listen to the fans? Of course not. Instead, she's doubling down on ideas that alienate everyone. The brand that once represented something universal, something for everyone, now feels like it's for no one at all. And here's where things get even messier. Kathleen Kennedy has been hinting at retirement for a while, and that might sound like good news, right? Well, there's a catch. Insiders, including Chris Gore, are reporting that Kennedy is determined to leave on a high note. She's reportedly holding out for a major win before she steps down. Let that sink in. After all the flops, she still believes she can pull off a victory lap. Honestly, it's hard to imagine what she's even clinging to at this point because wins are practically non-existent, and the ones that might be left seem so far out of reach that they're laughable. Now let's talk about why this idea of leaving after a big win is completely absurd. Kathleen Kennedy's idea of a win is tied to these so-called woke projects that have done nothing but alienate longtime Star Wars fans while failing to attract any new ones. These projects try so hard to push an agenda that they forget to tell a story worth watching, and that's exactly why Star Wars feels so broken. It's no longer about the lore, the characters, or the rich universe that George Lucas created. It's all about ticking boxes and trying to impress an audience that isn't even showing up, and George Lucas, who created the franchise, has been outspoken about this shift. At 69, he said, "I'm not going to be doing this when I'm 79. He's clearly been frustrated with the direction of Star Wars after selling the company to Disney, with many of the ideas he had for the franchise being completely ignored or abandoned. Take The Acolyte, for example. Has anyone even bothered to watch it? It's already being dismissed as another nail in the Star Wars coffin. Even The Mandalorian, which initially sparked some goodwill, isn't immune from the backlash. People aren't seeing it through rose-colored glasses anymore. The moment Star Wars started ignoring its own established lore, it lost the trust of its audience." This is part of a larger trend across many franchises like The Lord of the Rings that are similarly being mismanaged by their current stewards. Kathleen Kennedy has been at the helm of Lucasfilm for over a decade now. Disney paid $4 billion for Lucasfilm and trusted her to lead it. And what has she done with it? Massive financial failures, one after another. Yet somehow her contract keeps getting extended. Bob Iger, for all his reputation as a savvy businessman, hasn't held her accountable. She's been allowed to run Star Wars into the ground without facing any real consequences. So the question is, why hasn't there been any change at the top? It's honestly mind-boggling. Fans have been vocal about their dissatisfaction for years, and the numbers don't lie. Box office returns, Disney metrics, and merchandise sales have all been in steady decline. And yet Kathleen Kennedy remains in charge, still calling the shots. At some point, you have to wonder, does Disney even care? Or are they so entrenched in their corporate bubble that they can't see what's happening right in front of them? The Gina Carano lawsuit could be the breaking point for all of this. It's a huge black eye for Disney, and the timing couldn't be worse with so many of their other projects already underperforming or outright failing. But this isn't just about the money, it's about the optics. Disney was once seen as an untouchable entertainment giant, but now they're scrambling to figure out how to recover from yet another self-inflicted wound. It's almost poetic in a way. They've ignored the fans for so long, and now it's all coming back to haunt them. As for Kathleen Kennedy, she's still clinging to her seat, still hoping for that elusive win. But let's be real, the idea of her pulling off a victory at this stage is laughable. Star Wars is no longer what it used to be, and much of the blame for that falls squarely on her shoulders. She's had more than a decade to prove herself, and all she's done is prove that she's the wrong person for the job. The sooner Disney realizes that, the better. And now, the drama surrounding Star Wars is reaching new levels of chaos. Enter the critical voices, people like the Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic, who've become symbols of fan frustration. They've been loud and unapologetic in calling out Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm for their missteps, and guess what? They're being painted as villains for speaking the truths that fans are recognizing. It's as though they've become the public voice for what many fans have been thinking all along. Star Wars is a shadow of its former self, and if you need proof, just try watching The Acolyte. Go ahead, give it a chance, but fair warning, you might walk away feeling more depressed than entertained. Fans remember what Star Wars used to be, a beacon of creativity, imagination, and innovation. Now it's been reduced to a hollow shell of its former self, and the show greenlit under Kathleen Kennedy's watch is a perfect example of everything wrong with the franchise today. It exists not because fans wanted it, but because Kathleen Kennedy and her team wanted it. It's almost as if their entire strategy revolves around pushing fans further and further away. And just to add to the drama, rumors have it that Kennedy is reportedly fighting tooth and nail with Leslie Headland to secure a second season for The Acolyte. Yes, while fans are begging for projects that respect the Star Wars legacy, Kennedy is busy championing content that drags the franchise deeper into irrelevance. If The Acolyte gets a second season, that will be the final nail in the coffin for Star Wars. It will be the ultimate sign that Lucasfilm has completely disconnected from its audience. Let's not ignore the personal side of all this. Kathleen Kennedy doesn't just dislike her critics, she seems to have a particular disdain for them. Channels like Nerdrotic and the Critical Drinker, which have gained traction for exposing the flaws in Lucasfilm's approach, are likely a thorn in her side. But here's the thing, those channels are growing because they connect with an audience that feels ignored and betrayed. That's what happens when you make content for real people, not for corporate approval. At its core, this all comes down to a battle between art and agenda. George Lucas didn't create Star Wars because he wanted to push a message. He made it because he had a vision born from passion and rebellion, not corporate mandates. That's why it resonated with generations of fans. You can't manufacture that kind of magic in a boardroom, but that's exactly what Kathleen Kennedy and her team are trying to do, and the results speak for themselves. Even Steven Spielberg had something to say about Kathleen Kennedy's methods. Apparently, she's infamous for interrupting brainstorming sessions with random, off-the-wall suggestions. One story has her proposing that a character get the dog instead of the girl in the middle of a pitch meeting. That anecdote tells you everything you need to know about her approach: chaotic, unfocused, and completely out of touch. So what do you think? What does the future hold for Star Wars? Will Disney finally course correct, or is it too late? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more updates on the latest news.